Like I said, when I took over the ag program here at Foothill, we started with 28 kids. By the end of that year, we had about 50 students. Then enrollment came for the 89 year, and we had over 100 kids enroll. And so we expanded the ag program to 3 teachers, and I taught an ag mechanics class over at the ROC Center, ag construction class. I think the biggest thing we did is we started teaching a thing here, probably that I learned in church, called servant leadership. Now, I didn't teach church stuff here in class, but I taught students how to be leaders by being a servant to who they led. So students who were involved as officers in our program, we changed the mentality a little bit from being the boss or the head honcho or the kingpin to being a servant. We modeled that as teachers. Eventually Foothill became a full-time position. I taught 5 periods here. As a matter of fact, I think one of the years I even taught 6 periods, taught extended day so that we could build up our numbers. Because in 1994, we applied for some money at the state of California called the California Partnership Academy Grant. And at that time it was $81,000 you could get for having a partnership academy. And we did one in ag. And because of our FFA mixed in with our classroom, and then all we had to do was add some academic teachers like English and math and science, our academy application was scored the highest in California of all the academies that applied that year. And we were granted a partnership academy. And that academy became the Foothill Agribusiness Academy. And so the Agribusiness Academy still exists today. And we still get money for that. But we do it by blending agriculture classes with the academic classes. And so in 1985 or 86, we hired a second ag teacher at Foothill. And our program went from 125 students to about 250 students really quickly. So that was probably the premier thing we did to grow the program here at Foothill. The second thing we did is we hired some really good teachers. We hired a guy named Josiah Mayfield. And he was instrumental in the leadership program and in coaching. He coached some teams that I didn't know much about, like horse judging and parliamentary procedure. And together with me teaching the 9th graders and him teaching the upper class kids, we grew a very successful program. Our students started getting elected to county FFA offices and to San Joaquin Region FFA office. We even had one of our kids in 1992 get elected to a state FFA office, David Bright. And then eventually Lindsay Walsh got elected to be a state officer. Over a period of about 10 years, we had 7 of our Foothill students get elected to be state FFA officers. Now, if you don't know anything about what state FFA, at that time there was about 70,000 FFA members in California, and their officer team has 6 students on it. So one of our Foothill kids was one of the 6 students on the state FFA officer team. As a matter of fact, we are one of the rare schools in all of California that had 2 state FFA students during the same year. They were Natalie Ryan and Beatrice Campazano. They served as the, I think, state secretary and the state treasurer during the same year. And so that was one of our big successes. Then also having successes at the fair, having successes at some other judging teams, like parliamentary procedure is how to run a meeting. So we teach that in class, and then we take the kids and we go and compete at the local level, and then the regional level, and then the state level. And during one of those years, one of our teams, and I think Mr. Clark was actually on that team, went to the national competition, and they won the national FFA parliamentary procedure contest with Mr. Mayfield coaching and with Mr. Freeman and I assisting on that team back in those days. So, but the big thing was getting that academy going and teaching servant leadership. Okay.